watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
New vision. New vision. Yeah. Dash mesh. Make that noise. Why? Speak to him. The holy science. Life is a mystery, painfully my senses ache. Overwhelmed by the physical, the pleasure waits. I'm like yoga, nanda lifted in ascended states. Honestly, I blame the body, got expensive taste. Yeah, my past lives got a million layers. Spent a few just meditating in the Himalayas. I'm manifesting dishes of the illest flavor. Just for my guru, just to chillin' safer. Never need to eat, surviving off a thought alone. From the stars for now, the earth is what I call my home. Omnipresent Swami dwell in many forms. Truth be told, I live forever, I was never born. Wait until you see the astral plane. Above the minimal bliss of all that cash and fame. God realization, that's what a master gains. Sequences of breathing, how the path was laid. Combination of religions like gold and diamonds. Universal understanding is the holy science. Godly, like Babaji Lotus posturing. Materializing atoms with his consciousness. Yogi Christ, single-sighted on the righteousness. Kriya Yoga is the potion for enlightenment. The philosopher's stone is inside the soul. Internal alchemy, power to turn, let it go. You already know the holy science. I say peace, open the door, hello world. Tired of all the violence, yeah, I know, girl. Shots cut through the silence like we pro-war. Dying over diamonds, what we got to show for. What we got to show. I say peace, open the door, hello world. Can a song change the planet or maybe help us grow more? Fresh out the womb and the view is unpredictable. Together we collective, we limited individuals. Indivisible, united, that would be better. The progress is possible, don't ever say never. We can build a better place, design a better fate. It won't be perfect, but I promise there's a better way. Just let me meditate, focus on my breathing. Spent too much time weeded in the darkness with my demons. We all have, I just think it's time that we release them. Take the powers from the powers that be and just relieve them. Clean energy's the power we need, achieving freedom. No violent revolution, just walk away and we leave them. Without a weapon, we the people can police them. World peace through sustainability, we don't need them. Say I'm an idealist, I'd rather you feel this. In the midst of all this illusion, we forget what the real is. Lost in the Maya, start to create. Doing that cosmic dance, start to make new. Get rid of these outdated systems. It's a new way of thinking. Bring in the new everything. New engineers, new designers, new thinkers, new vision. It's a new age. It's time to recreate, redesign, become sustainable.
All right. Welcome to another episode of the Grind. Hope everybody's out there today. I'm your host, Mr. East, and I got my guest / co-host,
Hey,
Miss Troublemaker. Good trouble. Good trouble, always.
Yes.
So how are things going in prison land reform? How are you doing today, though?
Today I'm good. Walking tacos for dinner makes for a good night. As far as the prison reform, everything's going really well. Yesterday I sat through 2 hours of a board meeting to try to learn some more on a new security designator that they're starting to roll out in an effort to cut down on suicides. But yeah, that's about it.
Now, you and I have talked about suicide rates in prison systems extensively here and there. And can you go a little more in depth on how they're using certain terminology to just use it as a blanket term. And
So right now they're using the term self-harm in an effort to state that anybody who is engaged in assaultive behavior or even just being caught with contraband is considered a self-harm risk. And those people are then going to have a little bit more attention concentrated onto them, along with peer support that'll be touring around and talking to them. And it's not so much religion-based or psychiatric-based. It's just one of the 8 measures they're putting in place in an effort to reduce the numbers.
So it has nothing to do with actually, getting to see these individuals individually. It's just, how do you say it? They're just using it to not have to do as much work or make it easier. That sounds like you can't just crowd everybody in the same group. It sounds like also like socially, if you're with an unfaithful crowd of people, you're put into that group too.
Yeah, basically there's a lot of reasons that you could end up with that designator, but what I'm finding out surprisingly is it has nothing to do with being placed on medications or being on a psychiatric caseload or anything such as that. It's just one out of the 8 efforts. So the other efforts is the peers touring around and talking to you, and it's basically, it's not group rec. You don't leave your cell, but they get to come to you and just kind of kick it with you and hang out. Another one is going through, and this is the part I'm excited about. They're going through and they're going to look at the old policies and the old procedures and see if it really is the least restrictive setting it needs to be. So as much as this isn't exactly what we've asked for, it's a step in the right direction. I just find it odd that we're not allowed to know as much about it as I feel the public should be able to know.
Now, what are ways that people can help bring more awareness to the public about situations like this one specifically?
Basically just going on the page on Facebook and reading through some of the resources and some of the writings there, and just sitting down and really thinking. I always compare it to COVID, everybody had to stay in their house. You were told what to wear, what to do, where you could go, how many people you could go with, to the point where it was a glimpse into their everyday life. They don't get to say goodbye when a family member dies. Sometimes they don't find out for days. And one 5-minute phone call a month is all they're allowed to do as far as hearing a voice of a loved one. Otherwise, it's just through letters. Your visits are through plexiglass, and you don't get to embrace your loved one. You don't have that feeling of touch or support in your life anymore. Just kind of sitting down and thinking about that, and then asking yourself, if you know your local policies and how it would compare to Texas. 3 other states within the last 2 years have done away with solitary confinement.
And
so we have
what
to
are
ask
those
ourselves.
states?
Missouri, Illinois, and the other ones, I can't think of it right now, but you have to ask yourself if Texas is a Lone Star state, if it is, it's supposed to be this American icon of sorts for the country, and yet we have more torture occurring within its borders, between the ICE detainee camps and solitary conditions within the prisons, and the overcrowding and the lack of funding and the staff shortages, all the way to the juvenile justice camps. They've actually found reports of rape and medicating kids and over-sentencing them in order to secure that they have a high enough head count to get the next year's budget they need. So for Texas to be the American icon, the American dream, the oil rigs and the Star-Spangled Banner and the right to bear arms, everybody who does not obey the laws in which they decide, you don't just go to jail. You run the risk of going into solitary confinement and not coming out for 20 years.
So, speaking of people who have been in there for 20 years, what is the longest time that you're aware of that somebody has spent in severe isolation?
Right now, 31 years.
And I can only imagine, like, the mental damage that somebody goes through being kept in a small box and being told when and how they can communicate with their loved ones and what's appropriate and what isn't.
Yeah, well, the way I like to compare it, outside of the state of Texas, there is 12 people in the entire country who have spent 20 years in solitary confinement. That is only 12 people, 12 lives. But within the state, there's over 130. So,
And is there a minimum number? Is it like, does it start out at 5 is the lowest? People being in there in isolation like that?
no, I mean you can be in there for disciplinary for 6 months, and get out. But if you have an STG designator, being a part of a security threat group, one of 12 groups in which the TDCJ deems a gang or a threat. If you're one of those 12, once you get in, you don't get out, unless you attend one program in which the entire program violates everybody's constitutional rights. But it is indeed the only way out.
And what in this program you've told me it's called the grad program.
Yes.
And so what does the grad program entail exactly?
Basically, once you sign up for it, you have about a year waiting period in which you're just kind of monitored more closely. Your mail's more scrutinized, and after you go through so many months period, they sit you down and they ask you questions. The most layman's terms I could give is they ask you to snitch, to disclose information about the group, and the things that occurred in it in the past. But there's no actual proof of what you're saying. You don't have to prove it. So you can go in there and say basically anything, which allows people to abuse and misuse the system, while people who aren't actually part of a group go there and feel pressured to make things up in order to get out, while they may actually know nothing about it.
That is horrible. It's safe to say that to graduate the program, you have to be willing to put your life in direct line of fire, so to speak.
Your life and the lives of your family members, because you got to remember, it's not just you that's going to be within that prison and susceptible to that harm. It's also the family on the outside, that these people have come to know as your family throughout your stay, and all of a sudden you're not there anymore and they figure out why. It puts everybody in danger.
Yeah, prison life, it spills beyond the gates of prison, and I guess a lot of people aren't really aware of how deep the prison culture spills into the street, and that the reach is not limited. It is very wide and can get very narrow and a-specific to an individual. A lot of people like William out here has been made aware through his existence of situations like this. So anybody out there who's willing to hear more about this, definitely head over to the what is the name of your page again?
And AdSeg and TDCJ.
Yes, and restrictive housing.
Yes.
So what is something that got you started into this?
Just basically growing up, my brothers got in trouble every once in a while, and just watching the disruption that was caused in my home by what I considered then to be the police being mean to my brothers, but it threw everything off so that it took my brother, one of my brothers away from me for so long that I lost out on that chance to know him, and he didn't have the family support some of the men do in there. And he got out, and he still was able to maintain a clean record and a job and go to school, and he's married now with children. But I realized through that and being curious about his life, that the part that I had missed out on, that there's a lot of work that needed to be done within the justice system, and perhaps if it were done better, I could have had my brother there with me while I was growing up. Along with mental illness, that's something I've always been a bit advocate for, is maintaining mental health, and instead of focusing so much on punishment, focusing more on unlearning the negative behaviors that occur that led you to the consequences in which you're serving time for. Whether it's anger management or drug abuse, or simply not taking the time to educate people. If somebody gets in charge for forgery, maybe educating them on actual finance and how to do, basic things in which they're able to learn about the process and respect the process.
So your family is always going to be the driving force behind this. So with that being said, what was the first steps you actually took towards getting involved with inmates, and how the mental state of the inmates are?
The first step was I wanted to focus on the two largest states in the U.S. that seem to have a problem with their corrections department, which was California and Texas. And in California, I wrote one person on death row and one person serving life. And I did the same thing in Texas as well. And the person who was sitting on death row was actually Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker.
No way.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk to him about psychology, because he had been there within the prison system since 1985 when I was born. So literally the whole evolution of the prison system, starting at the date of my birth, or actually I think just 3 days before. But he had seen the evolution of the violence within the prisons and the power struggles, and back when the guards used to place money in bets on people when they would fight the gladiator fights, they were called. And then I wanted somebody serving life who I wanted to learn their outlook of what I knew was a failing system and how they seen their life going on throughout it.
So how long were you writing letters for?
3 years the first time, and then I had some family events occur, and I took a break for a couple of years, and then I came back. But yeah, I think it was about 3 years total. Richard Ramirez actually passed away, and in prison without being executed. I believe that was in 2000, and I want to say 12, maybe.
It was,
and then the inmate that I had, his name was Stephen Woods. He was on death row in Texas, and he was executed. And watching a man going through that process, when after reviewing his case file, I didn't consider him to have gotten a fair trial to begin with. But it's really humbling, and it taught me, I guess, to pay attention to what I have and what I've managed to obtain and accomplish in the amount of time, because they're not given that as an option ever.
So in between that break, you started this, where you've been doing monthly mail-outs, surveys, and a whole bunch of other things. How long have you been doing this for?
It was October 3rd, 2020 is when I started this one.
So almost 2 years now.
Yeah.
So, any favorable achievements that you've seen in the prison system since you started doing your work about 2 years ago?
Yeah, let's see. One of the biggest thing is the rollout of the tablet programs. They're going to be providing them with tablets soon. They're able to obtain some educational courses on those, as well as magazines, books. There will be music, radio available. TV in the day rooms are supposed to be getting installed. Let's see. We had 7 guards that were fired for excessive use of force and official oppression, and then 1 GI resigned for targeting and creating a security threat.
Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
So that when that statement's made, that's not just to inmates. That is that to the whole surrounding of who's ever in that proximity, or the whole jail.
Do you mean the housing type?
Yeah.
It's just however many wings are needed at that unit.
Oh, yeah. So he made it a risk for the inmates and the guards that were working there.
Well, what he did is he tried to get, because I'm working with all 12 groups, he tried to get me to seem more affiliated or in favor or treating some differently or having an ulterior motive, instead of simply working on reform, when the biggest thing about prison reform and reform in general is it's an all or nothing. You pick your cause and you fight for everybody it includes, and restrictive housing includes everybody. But because of that, and because he created the only security concern we had in a year and a half, he actually had to resign.
That's really intense. So, is a lot of information on how you do your process, is that through research? Is it through obtaining paperwork through the state in their prisons? How does that actually happen?
I do a lot of bill research on certain state representatives and what they represent. Research on the prison, the policies, the laws, psychology studies, the effect on the taxpayers, the recidivism rate, along with, the writing letters and combing through news sources, web pages, anything I can get my hands on, and compiling it all, getting a to-do list and doing what I need to do while making sure all the resources I compiled also get to every one of the men on the mailing list.
I think Will did some research for you. I think this is the prison expiration date for Richard Ramirez.
Yeah, he was dying of liver cirrhosis and his kidneys failed because he had hepatitis.
That's a really shitty way to go.
Yeah, we in Texas they actually won a lawsuit mandating it for them to give people with hepatitis treatment so that they don't have to suffer in that way.
Jesus.
Yeah. He the last letter he wrote me, he was writing from inside the hospital unit in a hospital bed. He sent a list of jokes that time.
Oh,
I think he found humor in death.
There can be.
I find ironic, but
it is. Absolutely is. So what are some big events that you would like to see happen in communities in Texas to help advocate awareness for the work you do and other people that do the work you do?
Basically, once I'm able to move down there, it'll be going to the protests and the rallies and going and visiting them in person and sitting down and strategizing with them in that way, and then getting the community involved and reminding them that whether or not these men receive the programs and the classes and the socialization needed to remain well-functioning in society, whether they get it or not, they're out. They have a maximum release date. And, mentally, 20 to 30 years in solitary can have the same effects as somebody coming back from fighting a war. And it's not to say that the struggles are similar at all. It's to say, as much as we see our veterans suffer, we've also seen what can happen on the news when they're not receiving the right mental health treatment. And, you know, we can't make them get the treatment or the resources. You can't make them take it. But these men are sitting there wanting that. I want to go to programs. I want to learn vocational skills so I can have a job when I get out. I'd really like my GED so that I can fight my case. But that's just a solid no across the board.
Well, and see, that's in my mind when I hear that, you know, there's some people that do get out, but you're saying you have people who've been 10, 15, 20, 30 years in the hole
Right.
with a release date. And anybody who spent time in jail understands that if you spend 8 months in a county jail, you're going to easily spend a minimum of 3 to 4 months recalibrating to the outside world. I can only imagine 30, 20, 10 years in a small box, and then you're just told to go outside.
Right.
Just go outside. Can you imagine being the guy who went to prison in 1997 and gets out 10, 15 years later from a box to within the last 5 to 6 years currently? I would feel extremely lost if
Right.
I was an individual in this situation. Because
And
it's like Shawshank Redemption, where
yeah.
that old man comes out of prison and 90% of the things he sees didn't even exist.
Yeah, I was actually talking to somebody earlier in the week about it, and he said upon release they give you a check, and you need to go get it cash, but of course you don't normally have a bank, so you go to Walmart, the service center, and he said that there's too many people. He had to leave. He left it on the counter. It was too much, and that's, you know, that's one of the normal reactions to that. But then I had somebody else tell me about one of theirs. In between being incarcerated, they had a time period where they're out in the free world, and he thought the bartender was a magician because she popped a beer cap off of her bottle. He had been incarcerated when they had twist offs. You know, and it would be the equivalent of telling your children to use a rotary phone and tell them to dial 911. How would they do that? Tell me, you know, how would you tell your child to use a rotary phone to call for help? That is the feeling of lost that they have when they're re-entering society. You know, the tablets and the huge TVs that are so thin, like it looks like trickery.
Oh yeah, no, it would be mind-blowing to me. But real quick, King Dad, what's good, fam? That's the applicant and grind mode affiliate applying for the global family, going through his steps over the next year. Salute to you. Susan, thank you for joining us. Will gave this piece right here. Yeah, it would be like learning to relive all over again. Yeah, absolutely. So, what is the most requested program of inmates in this situation?
That's the strangest thing. Anything.
Anything. There is no lean towards certain programs. It's just
no.
Everybody has something different.
It's not that there's a great need for GED and then vocational skills, but basically anything would be better than what they have right now, which is nothing.
Right, and a lot of these people are, some of them are spending life, and they aren't asked to being freed. They're asking to be treated like humans. Is that correct?
Yeah. Nobody's trying to get an earlier sentence, you know, a sentence reduction, and I've only had a couple mention good time to me. Basically, they just want to be able to get out of their cell and do something with the time instead of just sitting and being affected by their surroundings but unable to do anything about them.
And you and I have talked about some of the since 2020. I mean, some of the things you've told me, like people only being taken outside once every 2 weeks, a shower once. What was it? One time you told me it was once every 2 weeks. It was like for a month and a half stretch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is insane.
It's consistently being denied. But watching the men start to fight for themselves and go from saying, well, I don't really write grievances, to, man, I wrote this grievance, you're going to be so proud of me when it comes back from the office. And I get it. And I'm like, what are you doing? You got this. Let's go. Let's get to filing everything. Let's get all these steps taken care of. To be isolated so long that you don't think you're capable of getting out, I think, is one of the most hurtful things.
Absolutely. That really does go to show the ultimate prison is not just the box that they stick you in, but the box that gets put around your brain.
Right.
And there's so many people I've met in my lifetime where they get conditioned where they feel safer in prison than they do out on the street. And prison culture is very dangerous, whether it's at the county level, whether it's at the state level, whether it's at the federal level. They all have their high-risk situations, but it's crazy to me to see people manipulated into this box to where they feel safer in prison. They feel safer in that tiny box, and we pay them to do that to people. We're told that we're rehabilitating them, and when some of these people are released, they're more destructive than when they went home.
Yeah, definitely.
That would scare anybody.
Yeah. You go in with a problem with authority and a drug habit, and you come out with hallucinations and violent outbursts. So I guess it's asking yourself as a taxpayer, as a citizen, where was the rehabilitation in that? Where is it going to be, if he reoffends and this time it's not a victimless crime? When you could have just taught him how to do like craftsmanship work, leatherworking or woodworking, and he would have been able to do what he needs to focus on doing instead of being back to focusing on how to survive.
It's almost like weaponizing individuals.
Yeah,
a lot of these people they use resources within their limits of their boxes and their social connections within the prisons to make weapons. And this isn't just who you work with. This is just a well-known fact. And then you teach these people these really archaic negative ideals, and you just send them out there. It's crazy. I personally don't feel comfortable that my taxes do fun stuff like that. It's horrible. I wish I knew where it was all going.
Yeah, just definitely urging people to visit the page and sign the petition, and just become active and knowledgeable to what your tax dollars are being spent on, and the things you see on TV about the prisons is not what you're going to see if you pay attention to them.
That is facts. So we're dawning on about 40 minutes here. Is there any shout outs, any thank yous you want to give anybody?
Really just the guys. There's 50 men right now actively participating in this, receiving the mailing lists, and putting the work in every month for us to be able to do what we need to do. But within the state, there's over 300 men who have gotten involved and sent in their information and shown support when we've asked that of them. So I'm just really proud of everybody. I'm proud of watching that spark take hold in them when they're able to fight and they're given the tools. Just the simplest things like a news article is something they don't get access to. So to have that and to be able to use the sources within that, whether it's a quote on psychology or anything like that, they're really amazing.
Yeah, you're bringing them that connection, and that's what's really amazing. You are showing that prison systems effectively do not work from your desk, from your office.
Yeah.
You are showing that if funded operations like prisons all over the United States don't want to spend money, all you need is a few people like you who aren't spending hundreds of millions of dollars on nothing. You're just
Right.
spending whatever you can here and there to get connected with these people to bring some change, some real change.
Yeah. Everything that we have achieved so far, it's all funded by them. So it's been under $1,000 for a year and a half in cost, and yet we've managed to affect and inform so many people to help bring about the change with that amount of money.
Well, yeah. You even had on a side note, you even have a grind mode hoodie made with your Texas Prison Reform logo on it. Let's see that. There you go.
Yeah.
Troublemaker.
Yeah. My arms are too long for the camera. I'm too tall for this.
That is Troublemaker, bringing the good trouble from Texas Prison Reform and Dimes DL of Nebraska Division. So we're going to be switching topics. You're welcome to stay on here for the rest of the show, or you're welcome to go.
I'm gonna feed this one.
All right, yeah, you have fun feeding Falcor. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you guys.
All right, always good having her on. Hey, there goes my echo. Don't know what it is. We are streaming on the same location. Could be that we're streaming in the same house. So, how's everybody doing today? Susan, yes, Falcor is what we call our permanent miniature cat. He's a cute little fucker, he is. So, grind mode news. They were just in Austin, Texas. They laid down some ciphers. Doe the Unknown from Battleaxe Global was out there. A-OK let me know he did a killer job on the ciphers. I cannot wait to see them. And as always, Sunday Night Grind. Behind the Grind. Two things you need to check out when it comes to grind mode cipher. They do a lot of great things for the community when it comes to hip hop and involving the community overall to have fun and get involved with the real culture of hip hop, not this this flashy camera and glitch shit you see on TV all the time. You know, it's real raw hip hop, getting to know your community, you know, making a good thing happen for people. So that's going to be coming out soon. Grind mode ciphers always drop in ciphers every week, and sometimes they do it twice a week. Hell, I even think there's at one point it was 3 times a week. But there's always cipher events getting planned. April, we got, it was Denver, Colorado. There will be a cipher out there. I will definitely double check that info. Definitely head over to the Grind Mode Cipher official group page. We'll catch posts for the Global Grind, Behind the Grind, with Johnny Concepts and Trip B. Great individuals, always interviewing Grind Mode affiliates, doing their thing, having fun, sharing laughs, letting you know some knowledge about themselves and the artists and work they have coming out and how they became a part of Grind Mode and the experiences that they share. It is really cool. It always is cool to watch them. Let's see. Battleaxe Global collaboration of the Axes. That will be coming out, getting things underway. Artists are sending in their music for the record label. Really dope. Salute to all the artists getting involved with that. Absolutely. Want to take some time to give a couple shout outs. King Dead here earlier. He is a applicant joining the family. Grind Mode affiliate as well. Definitely add him. Check him out. He's going to be on an Electric Haze Cypher coming out soon. So keep your eyes peeled. You'll probably see it posted up in the Hip Hop Lounge or in Mystic Promotions or somewhere on one of the global pages for sure. Let's see. Willie P and I did Behind the Boards yesterday. It was really fun. Ended up pulling an overtime win. I've been seeming to do that the last couple days when it comes to the hockey games. But he played a good game, did some great narrating. We had a great time. Let's see. We got next month. Actually, next Wednesday, you can catch an episode of Warrior Wednesdays. It's going to be a short one, but it's just going to be Rocco and I nailing some things out for y'all in the community who want to join Global and, just touching bases with y'all. Always wanted to let y'all know we paying attention to y'all. We see y'all. Just a lot of life events come up in between, reaching out to all y'all. I know there's applicants I still need to get to. Thank you for your patience. And thank you, Rocco DePopolo, for being this month's sponsor for the Global Grind. I appreciate it. And speaking of the Global Grind, I got an autographed copy of the Sleep Sinatra album, Sleeper Effect, with some Grandma Cypher stickers, Sean Crutch, and maybe even some Cowboy Bebop stickers. The announcement will be made for that tomorrow. I'll put up a little announcement before I go live with it. Let's see. Top Shelf Radio, Doe the Unknown, got his radio show thing going on. Definitely check it out. Check that shit out. Go follow for sure. Let's see. I'm gonna add one more song into here for you guys from a supported artist on Wild East Entertainment. Let's do something different today. You know what? We're going to bring on some Sean Crutch for y'all. He was a guest on our show just a couple weeks ago. Him and his family came over. We had fun. We ate pizza. We had yellow kiwis. Laughed. Talked about doing more videos. Talked about the 900 bands video I was in with him. Really dope interview. Definitely go check it out. It's also on my Wild East Entertainment YouTube page if you ever want to check that out. Or as always, tune in to where y'all are at currently to stay connected. Let me get this commercial out of the way. Everybody loves the YouTube commercials. I promise you. It's a horrible thing. All right. Let's see here. The Butlers. Yes, the return of the Butlers may be a thing. It actually might be. All right, let me share this screen. All right, we have Sean Crutch, Physical Therapy album, The Struggle. Let me hit that echo cancellation so you guys don't have a bunch of echoing in the background. All right, here we go. Enjoy.
Body casts, painkillers, x-rays, surgical stitches, Morphine habits, one hell of an addiction. Prep the anesthetic, we bout to start the incision. This is not a fable, operating table, I be stuck inside my temple. Hemorrhages are detrimental, I see you as instrumental. Muscle tissue torn, body was deformed, ligaments have been disfigured. Bible singing on the temple. I'm trying to paint a mental picture. I remember 15, popping codeine, hoping that the mental take control. I was trying to stay composed, cause my mama didn't know. Cause I used to throw me on his back and have me wrap my hands around his stove. Temperature was freezing cold, that's how I made it through the snow. Feeling all alone and completely useless, wondering just how my life was conducive. Searching for a cure, it was too elusive. Coping mechanism was making music. Fall on my hands, cut scars and bruises. Knots on my head, blood clots and contusions. Feeling like a scene from Back to the Future, cause I was like Michael J. Fox with the movements. I thought pops was stripping, had me Chinese splitting while we in the kitchen doing long division. Lightning in my mental, killing inhibitions. Needed intervention, yeah, the pain was vicious. Violins and fiddles, I was in my feelings, but I wouldn't whimper, it was not permitted. Praying God forgive me for my past existence and the simple pleasures I committed. The struggle's real. The struggle's real. The struggle's real. Yeah. The struggle's real. I see the devil all around me. I'm praying to the Lord, hoping that He save my soul. The path is dark and I don't know which way to go. I'm trying to find my way home. I see the devil all around me. I'm praying to the Lord, hoping that He save my soul. The path is dark and I don't know which way to go. I'm trying to find my way home. I ain't trying to get you crying on the record, how you struggle on the block. You ain't got no brittle bones, it ain't hurting when you walk. You ain't never fell down, yelling help in the empty parking lot. You ain't never had to spend 2 hours in the morning putting on your socks. Praying for a fighting chance, exercising all I can. Crawling using just my hands, lick this weak as rubber bands. Granny Shirley used to tell me, honey, you can do whatever you envision. Cancer took away too rough, telling God I really meant it. The struggle's real. The struggle's real. The struggle's real. Yeah. The struggle's real. I see the devil all around me. I'm praying to the Lord, hoping that He save my soul. The path is dark and I don't know which way to go. I'm trying to find my way home. I see the devil all around me. I'm praying to the Lord, hoping that He save my soul. The path is dark and I don't know which way to go. I'm trying to find my way home.
That was the one and only Sean Crutch. One of Wisconsin's greats, in my opinion. Just my opinion. Speaking of great things to come, next episode of the Axmo podcast, we got an announcement for y'all. Some of y'all already got a sneak peek of the song, but we got a huge announcement. You can catch me next time on the Axmo podcast. Yes, it is definitely a dope song, Brother Will and Pinky. I am so sorry to hear about your nephew yesterday. It's really sad. Rest in peace to your nephew. Holy cow. Sorry to hear that. But, wrapping up this hour, I am Mr. East. This has been an episode of The Global Grind. Stay tuned for our next artist that is coming on. Oh, you're welcome, Susan. Anytime. That's what family's for. We support each other through the good and the bad. That's what we're here for. We got another guest scheduled. I've been reaching out to some of the Wisconsin talent. We're going to have an artist. Not sure if he's going to be on the 2nd or the 3rd week of next month. But next week, you can tune in to the Wild East podcast. It'll be the same time. It'll be either half an hour or an hour-long podcast of music being played of the artists that I support under Wild East Entertainment. Now that's supporting artists. Doesn't mean they owe me anything. We willingly work with each other and make things happen, bring exposure to things that we do in connecting the hip-hop community and people who appreciate good hip-hop. You know what it is. Absolutely. So this is Mr. East, Fox Cities, Wisconsin. Hope y'all have a great night. I'm just going to hit y'all with the outro.
Watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.